Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Through the Fire. I am your host, Ryan Wickline, and today we're joined by a very special guest. He is the founder of NeuroDiscipline and the author of Split Second, Mr. Adam Tilove. How you doing today, Adam?
Great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and looking forward to a lively conversation.
Oh, I'm kind of excited to kind of see what you kind of bring to the table here.
I'm on the table. Let's rock and roll.
All right. The number one question the audience is probably wondering, who is Adam Tilove?
Okay. Wow. Who's me? So I'm a man. I'm an American. I'm Jewish. I'm an educator. I'm a coach. I founded this program. Sorry, is that ringing bothering you? Give me 1 second. I am so sorry. That is not the way to begin a podcast, but it's also not okay to have phone ringing. Okay. I founded NeuroDiscipline, which is a program, a coaching program that takes people through 13 or 14 weeks of training to help them become better thinkers, better livers, more healthy, more balanced, and overall more focused. So I'm excited about that. And I'm intrigued by the title, Through the Fire. I've been through the fire several times. I've had 2 brain surgeries that put me in the hospital for 6 weeks as a 16-year-old. I've gone through near bankruptcy. I've had 13 years of sobriety. So it's been a colorful life. Yeah,
I think a lot of us have been through the fire in life. That's where hence the title.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because life is hard. I don't care who you are. Like, I had an interesting conversation with a PhD psychiatrist, and we were actually talking about whether really rich people feel stressed. Yeah. And it was really interesting. I actually felt like my mind changed because my initial position was rich people don't understand stress. They're not really stressed, right? Like, real stress is like, I got to get to work and my car's broken down and I don't have money to fix it, right? That's real stress. And fake stress is like, oh, my business just lost 5% of its $1 billion, right? That's not real stress. That's like a make-believe stress. And what he was explaining to me is that your body actually doesn't know the difference between this stress and that stress. Like, and that human beings are wired for stress, that we are like essentially stressed out people in our biology. So if you don't even have something to stress about, you will find something to stress about. So there's like it changed how I thought about life. And so this idea that you've been through the fire isn't just for people who have like been in some kind of terrible car accident, as I have, but even for people who are just living their everyday lives. Life is not easy. It throws those curveballs, and if you make it through it, you're pretty damn tough.
Yeah, like I used to kind of avoid a lot of the fires instead of just going through it. That's why I got the title was you have to go through it, quit running from it and just run through it.
That's really interesting. And actually, I'd love to be able to come back to that later in the show.
What inspired you to start coaching?
So I spent most of my adult career as an educator. I was a teacher. I taught middle school and elementary school. I always wanted more. I wanted more leadership. I wanted more control. I wanted to do great initiatives, and like I wanted to create great schools. And I just felt like being in the classroom wasn't enough responsibility for me. Like, I wanted more. So I worked my way up the ranks, and I became a head of a school. It was a K through 5 school, and then I became the head of a K through 12 school. And what I discovered after climbing all these flights of stairs is that the view out the window is still of a brick wall. It was not what I thought it was going to be, right? Like I thought that the sense of achievement was going to fulfill me, and that this responsibility. But the truth was that the job was exhausting for me, emotionally exhausting. it's a very hard position. I don't think I need to get into too much nuance, but if you know a head of school, like, have compassion, because it's a very political, very tense position where you're caught in between teachers and students and parents and the board. And so I decided to make a change, and thought I want to keep helping people. I want to keep educating, and I want to do it in a way where I'm not feeling like I'm constantly bogged down in political nonsense. And so coaching occurred to me. And so I got certified as an executive coach. And now I work with, the majority of people I work with are adults with ADHD who are entrepreneurs. And the interesting thing about that particular field is that people with ADHD hate being employees. They hate having bosses and that authority over them, that sort of accountability. And they have these hunter minds, right? That they're always seeing opportunities, right? So they've got brilliant business ideas, but the goal between idea and shipped product lies through the valley of execution. And people with ADHD are lousy at execution because we're always more excited about the new idea than the implementing the slow, boring, consistent, thorough execution of the previous idea. So we actually have great ideas, but make pretty lousy entrepreneurs. So my goal was to work with people and help them lock in, cut the fog, the confusion, not knowing what to do next, pick the single best goal that they need to work on, have them drive for it relentlessly with accountability and group accountability as well, and get where they're going. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm seeing a tremendous amount of growth from the people I work with, and it's really satisfying. So
that's awesome. How did you get on that niche with ADHD entrepreneurs?
Well, I have ADHD. And I found my report card. My father died a couple of years ago. My brother was going through his stuff and found a report card from 1980 when I was 8 years old, second grade. And the teacher basically said, Adam has brilliant ideas, but doesn't understand how to get to finished product. And he talked about how I was very sensitive, how I like comparing myself to others in my reading, I would burst into tears. Which is also the emotional regulation is part of ADHD. So I read this report card, and it was long. I mean, it was typed, and it was at a school that wasn't like ABCD. It was literally 2 pages typed, and all over it was this kid has ADHD. But of course, in 1980, that wasn't something we really talked about. It wasn't like it is now. No one knew what it meant. No one even knew there was a name for it, right? It was. My parents called it absent-minded professor, right? That I had these brilliant ideas, but I was always in my head sort of floating around, and I didn't like to do stuff, and I wasn't. So I read this and I was like, wow, if I had understood this report card, if my parents had understood this report card when I was 8 years old, where could I be today? Right? When I was in high school, my high school guidance counselor used to call me senator, just as a joke, but that was his vision of me. And of course, I never got to senator, and I'm not a billionaire. And I just wonder what might have been. And so my goal is to help other people to learn from everything that I've learned about myself, about ADHD, about the structures and the systems, to try and help them succeed to the maximum of their maximum capacity.
Yeah. So what types of services do you provide them?
Okay, well, there's really 3 parts to my coaching. One is the NeuroDiscipline protocol, which is this 14-week program where every single week we take on a new habit and we build them out. So, are you familiar with 75 Hard?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to tell your audience what 75 Hard is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you go. Do you know it? You know what?
So it's just doing things that are hard for 75 days. It's like certain challenges and stuff, isn't it?
Right. So the challenges are you work out twice a day. Each workout's 45 minutes.
Then you got to get outside.
One's
Right?
outside. That's
Yeah.
right. You remember any of the other ones?
I can't think of them off my head, but I just talked with somebody about that like a
Drink
week
a gallon
ago.
of water.
Yeah.
Keep any diet, but don't break it even one day. Take a picture of yourself and read 10 pages of nonfiction. Now, this is a very popular program, and I tried it. That's sort of the genesis of NeuroDiscipline. I tried it with accountability group, and we tried it and we all failed. So we tried again and we all failed again. And we tried again and we all failed, and then we lost touch with each other. And it started me thinking, what is the psychological effect of trying to do this and failing? Like, failed. So I tried something 3 times and I failed it. And then it's just like, it just breaks you down. It makes you feel like a failure. It makes you feel like I took this challenge on and I couldn't do it. I failed over and over again. And at the same time, it's absurd. Like, it's very popular because it's so simple and because it sounds like, oh my God, in 75 days, I'm going to be a totally different person. And for the people that do it, amazing. Great job. Congratulations. I have kids. I have a dog. I have a job. Like, it's not like if you're a single person with a ton of flexibility, you might be able to do it. Like, I couldn't do it. And it occurred to me that, like, that level of discipline, trying to wake up tomorrow and do 75 hard would be me telling you, Ryan, I'm not a runner. I'm not in good shape, but I want to be a runner. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to run a marathon.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. And of course, you laugh because, like, saying that's ridiculous. But this idea that you can go from, like, being a couch potato to doing 75 hard and fixing yourself is absurd. So I started thinking about how is real behavioral change made? And so the protocol that I've created is 14 weeks. Every week is a one small habit that we lock in. Every day has 20 points. The points change every week as you integrate more habits. And there's no failure in the 20 points. Like, if you get them all, you're blue. If you get like 15 to 16, you're in the green. And so it's all designed in order to make you feel like you can do this. Even the color system, right? You'll probably notice like 19 and 20 are blue. Why is it blue instead of green, right? Green is usually the highest. Because I want people to know that if they got 15 or 16 points, they're doing great. They're in the green. Right now, if they got the yellow or the orange or the red, then they can improve. But, like, green is good. Like, there's no perfect. Perfect is the enemy of the good, right? So I designed this entire thing to help behavioral change. And that's the origin. So that's number one. Number two is we go through this in a cohort. So you're with a group of people that's going through the same things that you're going through. Why? First of all, when you see other people doing good, you want to do good. If you're doing well and somebody else is failing, you want to lift them up. And if you're dragging and someone else lifts you up, you both get more energy. In fact, the person doing the encouraging usually gets more energy than the person being encouraged. So being in a group of people, and we're all in a Discord together where we communicate about our wins, about our struggles, about our music, about our food, about our exercise, builds community and builds accountability and support, excitement, energy, right? So that's the second part. And the third part is my one-on-one coaching, where I meet with the clients any number of times, usually 10, and we talk about the things that are clouding them, distracting them, blocking them, and we figure out how to barrel through them and delete them and make sure that those things don't stay barriers, but that we are consistently and thoroughly executing on our goals so that we travel the gap between idea and product. And those are the three parts, and it's been great.
Yeah, sounds awesome. I like how you work with people to develop good habits, like behavioral changes, which is not easy.
No, it's not easy, but it is possible, right?
Yeah.
And taking it step by step with community support and not trying to do too much at one time, but really setting manageable goals and building upon them. One of our themes is wins beget wins, Getting small wins gets you more wins. So just getting that, starting with a small win and then rolling it into the next one.
Yeah, and probably like when you're developing them behavioral changes, like if you start them out small, they start gaining momentum and seeing, oh, there's so much more possible, and they start gaining confidence in themselves too.
Absolutely. Like it's about like picking something that's really easy and manageable, not so that, like if you're going to start working out, you can start with like 10 push-ups. Now, is 10 push-ups going to get you ripped? No. But you're building a circuit in your brain that says, I exercise, I move my body, I do this thing. And one day you might do your 10 push-ups and be like, I don't feel done. I'm going to do 10 sets of 10. Now you're going somewhere. Or like you do your 10 and you're like, you know what, I'm going to hit the gym. But it all starts with something small and manageable so that your brain starts getting into the habit of, I move, I'm an exerciser, I do this thing. Instead of like the constant like, oh, I'm going to research the best workout system in the world. And like you create spreadsheets and you have ideas and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to start tomorrow. Tomorrow is
no action.
Tomorrow is the enemy. Tomorrow is always the enemy. Better to just like do something tiny today than try to move the world tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow never comes. There's always tomorrow. Tomorrow is always tomorrow.
So true. What's probably the biggest challenge your clients face?
I mean, it's really interesting. There's a number of challenges. I mean, one is definitely the execution gap that I mentioned, like knowing what to do, but not doing it. And all of the reasons why, all of the things that distract us, that bog us down, that like all of the off ramps we take. I would say one of the fundamental things in the program and just in general is that people aren't getting enough sleep. Sleep affects our mood, it affects our memory, it affects our immune system, it affects our diet, it affects our focus, it affects every single thing we do. You look like you're a guy who exercises. You hit the gym?
Yes.
Right. So as well as me that like your body's ability to recuperate from an exercise depends on sleep.
Yeah.
Right? So you probably, to lock in a good exercise, you probably make sure you get plenty of sleep. Am I right?
I try to some days. Some days are better than others.
Okay. So the thing we need, like two things with sleep. First of all, we need 7 hours at least. And it needs to be a regular bedtime, like regular circadian rhythm. When you go to sleep and you don't vary it by more than an hour, and you wake up, vary that by more than an hour, even on the weekends. Like being regular with your sleep and having enough sleep is critical to every single aspect of our function, of our focus. And most people with ADHD, I think most people in general, they know it's bedtime, they should go to bed, and then they binge like 3 more episodes of The Sopranos, and then they've missed their circadian rhythm. They lie down in bed. They're not even tired because they missed their rhythm. They've been watching a blue screen, so your dumb brain thinks it's still daytime, and everything's thrown off. And then the fact is like another one of the principles of the program is tomorrow is today. And we already discussed one aspect of that, like don't put anything off till tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. Tomorrow is always tomorrow. So start today. But the other core thing about this is that it refers to the way we conceive of a day. When I say you probably, that's not the right to say. We all think about the day is starting in the morning. And I would encourage people to stop thinking like that and start thinking that the day begins at bedtime. Why? Because your ability to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and do that workout that you want to do doesn't depend on when you wake up tomorrow morning. It depends on when you go to bed tonight. Right? If I have 8 hours before 5:30 in the morning and I get 8 hours of sleep, I'm going to spring out of bed and run to the gym because I'm pumped, because I have energy. And if I have 5 hours because I stayed up too late and I couldn't go to sleep, then at 5:30 in the morning, the alarm goes off and I hit doze 6 times. Right? So rethinking about a day as starting at night. So when you think about it, you're like, all right, it's 9 o'clock. It's a new day. Am I going to fuck up everything I need to do tomorrow? What's my list? What am I like? No. Like today, I'm starting my day right now. I'm getting a win right now by going to sleep. And then your whole day tomorrow is better because you're going to be exercising. You're going to have better focus. You're going to get done more in an hour than you would have gotten done in 5 hours if you're sleep deprived and drifting. So yeah, tomorrow is today. Starts tonight. The day
That's an interesting perspective and a way to look at things too.
I'm gonna be honest, Ryan. I didn't invent that. That's straight out of the Bible.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I mean, it says there was evening and there was morning the first day. It doesn't say there was morning, there was evening. It says there was evening, there was morning one day. And every day of creation, it says it was evening and there was morning. Why does it start with evening? Because the day begins at night. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I mean, it's, you know, I'm not, you know, that's neither here nor there, but that's the idea actually does come from the Bible. Like we start the day at night.
Interesting. Why do you believe so many people struggle to execute when the pressure is on?
That's actually not when they fail to execute. When the pressure is on, people tend to cram. They execute. They get it done in the last minute, right? The problem is that they're giving themselves a heart attack. They're doing shitty work at the last minute, and the people that are relying on them are seeing the shitty work. But one of the only times that people with ADHD actually do execute is when there's tremendous pressure. The idea is, though, when you're your own boss, when does that pressure exist? Right?
Kind of all the time, though, if you're your own boss.
What's that?
It's kind of on you at all times then. If you're your own boss, the pressure would be more on you, like, than if you're a regular employee. So, like, coming to probably the end of the quarters.
Without any external pressure, like your deadline is Thursday. There's no one to say your deadline is Thursday, right? It's all on you. And if you miss the deadline, who's pissed off? Nobody. So what happens? Your business suffers. Your life suffers. Things suck. But there's no one calling you out on it, right? Like we'll all cram to get our taxes done by the deadline. And probably most people are actually extending them anyway, right? In my world. But the point is, if there's an external pressure saying this thing is due and there's no way around it, then, I mean, okay, we can show up at the airport barely in time to take that flight because we know the flight's going to leave without us. Yeah. But if we need to make those cold calls that we know are going to move our business forward, but we just don't like them, chances are they're not going to happen.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people never leave the planning stage and remain stuck?
So this is really interesting, and I'm gonna go off for a second here. I'm gonna come back to it though. Okay. So there's actually someone who came up with the 5 phases of business development. Have you heard this, Ryan?
No.
This is great. So the first phase is uninformed optimism. Uninformed optimism. You don't know anything, but you know you have the best goddamn idea in the world. It's going to be great. I'm going to take the world by storm. I'm going to be a millionaire. No one's ever seen this problem before, and I've got the solution. And man, this is going to be uninformed optimism. Then you start the business, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is so much harder than I thought it was going to be. There's already 10 people doing it already. I had no idea that they were doing it, and they have more money than me, and they've already been in the market for 5 or 10 years. And I don't know where to find this paperwork, and I don't know how to do my website. I don't know how to build a funnel. I don't know how to do and all of a sudden you're not in informed optimism anymore, uninformed optimism. You're in informed pessimism because now you know. And then from informed pessimism, the next phase is the valley of despair. And this is where you're grinding and grinding, and you're spending money, and you're not closing deals, and everything sucks. And you're like, oh my God, how am I going to make it through the valley of despair? And then at some point, you see something that works. You start closing that deal. You start getting those notifications, right? You start having those conversations because that one channel is working. Someone introduces you to someone else, and suddenly things start to move a little bit. Now you're in informed optimism. Now you know what's going on and you actually see the pathway. And you keep doing that thing and you keep growing it and you keep finding success until you reach stage 5, which is success and fulfillment. And I don't need to tell you what that is, right?
Yeah.
The problem with people with ADHD and people in general is we go from phase 1 to phase 2, and we start phase 3 and we're like, oh my God, this sucks. But I have an idea. And that idea phase feels so good. It's much more fun to have an idea than to execute an idea. Having an idea releases all this dopamine, excitement, visions of grandeur, visions of it's like buying a lottery ticket, having an idea. Like this is gonna be amazing. Executing an idea is uncomfortable. It's a weak spot. There's no dopamine in it. It's just grinding. And so often the problem with people is that they go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. I have an idea, phase 1. And we go in this cycle and we never get through the valley of despair and informed optimism, success, and fulfillment because we give up too quick. And we're unwilling to do the awful, lame, boring, consistent, thorough execution of an idea that brings us to success.
Yeah. How much of that do you think is rooted in this procrastination is rooted in fear and limiting beliefs?
Oh, so much of it. So this is my book, by the way, Split Second, Stop Stalling, Start Doing. And, one of the things that I identify in this book is what I call the 6 F loads. An F load is like, there's 6 Fs, and most of them are feelings, but I identify them as fog. Fog is like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm not really sure what I should do next, or what my business plan is, or what the direction I'm taking. And when that hits, it's hard to take action. That's when we're like, I guess I'll watch TV or scroll or watch, whatever. 2 is flood. Flood is like, I know where I'm going, but man, I've got 500 things to do and I'm overwhelmed and I can't handle it. I don't even know what to work on first. And so I'm going to scroll Instagram because that feels better than trying to figure this out. The next one is friction. Friction is this is just boring, like doing paperwork or accounting and stuff that just doesn't feel good, but is necessary. And that can be a block too to make us procrastinate. The next one, as you said, is fear. And fear really is what if this doesn't work? What if I put all this energy into this thing and I actually do it and it flops on its face? What then? Right? And then so we're scared. Or what if it does work and then I don't even know what comes next or what my life looks like or how it will change or how am I going to plan? How am I going to schedule? So that fear can definitely prevent us from doing things, but it's not the only thing. And then the last 2, one is friction. Friction is when your values don't match up with the work you're trying to do. I tried to run a real estate business for a while. And sometimes I enjoyed it, but overall, in the work that I was doing, I was trying to buy distressed houses from people that were in a bad spot for less money than their house was worth. And that's the business. But I didn't like it. I didn't feel good doing it. There was a fracture there between my values and the work I was trying to do. And it prevented me from doing it. Whereas I don't feel fracture when I'm coaching. Because when I'm coaching, Ryan, if I was coaching you, your success is my success. And if you're not successful, I'm not successful. I get to be all in for you. I get to be your coach, your greatest cheerleader, and your support. And there's no fracture in that for me. There's no part of it that feels like I'm doing something wrong. I put in my whole heart into it. And the last F is just fatigue, right? If you are tired, if you are underslept or exhausted, or burnt out, it's hard to execute. And that's why some of the things we talk about are sleep, primarily, but also what is rest? What's the difference between restorative rest and just not working? Like restorative rest, like honest to God, like restorative rest is going to work out. Doesn't sound like rest, but it is. Because you're resting your brain, you're doing something different, you're feeling good, you're doing something that makes you feel good and rejuvenated. Whereas scrolling Instagram is not rest. That's numbing. It doesn't give you energy. It makes you feel guilty. It makes you feel bad. It makes you feel empty and hollow. It's fun while you're doing it, but 4 hours later, you feel like terrible.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? The different reasons
Yeah.
behind procrastination, that there's actually like a lot of different things going on.
Yeah. Like, and like some of them I find kind of fascinating that you mentioned, like flood, you know, like you're just flooded with so much stuff and you don't know where to start.
And that flood creates anxiety. And that anxiety wants to be relieved. And so we smoke pot or something. Do you know that people with ADHD are 800% more likely to be addicted to pot?
Huh.
Because we feel this anxiety around all of these things, and the pot just helps us chill, right? And so, but that false chill prevents us from executing. Really, what would solve the anxiety is actually starting, instead of just like feeling so flooded and overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. Why do you say motivation isn't enough when looking to make lasting change?
It's fascinating. I had a client who just gave me this feedback unasked for. He said, "You're doing a great job in your business." He said, "This is not about motivation." I'm quoting him. He said, "Motivation comes and goes. Some days you have it, some days you don't. But your systems sustain you. And your systems, if you just do the same thing every day, that's healthy, your brain is actually a predictive machine. It expects that tomorrow is going to look like yesterday. And it wants you to do that. It's actually run by a part of your brain called the basal ganglia. So, for example, there is a short way to get to my kid's school and a long way. I want to take the short way. Almost every day I take the long way. It's infuriating. The fact is that my body is in control and not my brain. Unless my prefrontal cortex is actually thinking to myself, go straight here, go straight, right? My body is like, no, you make a right here, just go right. And then I'm like, oh, what have I done? And it does, our brain does that with everything all the time. So the bottom line is, if we get into a habit where we get good sleep, exercise, read, focus, get work done, play, hang out with friends, and live this kind of life where we're scheduled around healthy living and deep work, then that sustains us on the days when we don't have motivation. If you're relying on motivation, you got to wake up every day and be like, today I'm motivated. And then you do these things, but what about tomorrow? So we fall, and I think this is James Clear who says this, we fall at the level of our systems. So we build these systems in our lives, and that carries us through the days when we're not motivated, and actually gives us the motivation instead of waiting for the motivation to come from on high.
Yeah, like I've learned too, like working with people, is like that motivation's there at the beginning, but then like a week or so in, it just fades.
That's right.
So
that's
you
why
better start developing this
3 months, because there needs to be enough time for people to fail and spring back and fail and spring back, because the spring back from the fail of motivation is just as important as having motivation to begin with. You got to be able to spring back when you fail and not turn one failure into 6 months of failure.
Yeah. And that's where I think people kind of mess up with a lot of things. And like when they're trying to develop new habits, is when they fail, like, oh, they beat themselves up so much about it, instead of just, hey, that's part of the process. It's a learning process. Some weeks will be good, some weeks will be bad. You just got to keep going.
That's right. Got to keep going. Got to spring back.
What led you to write your book?
So my book is really about the split second, that's why it's called Split Second, between deciding to do something and either doing it or not doing it. And my premise is that you don't need 10 hours of discipline a day. You need like about 20 seconds of discipline. They just need to be the right moments, right? And how do we do it? So often what happens is, so for example, someone's feeling fear, or they've got these stories about themselves, these preconceived notions, or whatever the F load is, like whether it's fog or flood or whatever, right? And we go to do this thing, and suddenly we're struck with an emotion. And that emotion is unpleasant. And we immediately seek relief. And we seek relief in what I call an off-ramp. An off-ramp could be drifting. It could be, whatever. They're all in the book, right? But like, it could be like drifting, which is like using Instagram. It could be restarting, which is like, whoa, but I have an idea. It could be productive procrastination, when you're like, oh, I should do this thing, but really the dishes need to be done, right? So all of these different things, we take these off-ramps that take us away from our work. But that split second between deciding to do something and either starting it or taking an off-ramp is less than a second. It's instantaneous. It's like it's that split second. Like, have you ever just like remembered a really painful memory and suddenly your like stomach, it feels bad and you're choked up and you like your instantaneous reaction that you feel in your body? That ever happen? You ever feel that?
Yeah.
That's what happens at a micro level every time we have to go and do some work that we don't want to do. But if we can slow that down and dissect that split second and turn that split second to the 3 seconds where we actually can make a choice, where we can drag the feeling out of our emotions, our amygdala, where our threat warning system, drag it out, name it, look at it, identify it, diffuse it, and put it in our prefrontal cortex where we actually can make decisions, then we can actually start doing the things that we need to do. And that's just what the book gets into. It's a short book, but I think it changes the way you think about work.
Yeah. So what's the biggest takeaway you want your readers to get from it?
I think what I just said basically is that there's an emotional process happening. It's not all logic. It's not like what you think, but that if you can acknowledge that, name it, and then deal with it, your brain has a chance of winning instead of diverting you every time.
Yeah. What was probably the biggest challenge you faced while you were writing it?
So because I have ADHD and because I've started so many projects and never finished them in my life, I was terrified writing this book, because my fear was I'm going to spend weeks or months writing this thing and never publish it. Like, it'll just die along with so many other ideas I had. And so I actually didn't tell almost anyone that I was writing a book. It was like a big deal for me, but I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want that feeling of like, here's another thing I said I was going to do and I didn't do it. But actually writing the book itself was the perfect example of all of the things in the book to get you to execute. Like, for example, let me just, that was hard, but let me just give you one example. Like, in the book, there's something called irrevocable action, an IA. And that's like when you press send, right? When you ship, when you finally do that thing, when you send like your meeting link out, right? It's that thing that someone's going to respond to. It's like lighting a fuse. Something is going to come because you actually took it out of your head and sent it out in the world. It's irrevocable. That's an irrevocable action. And we seek irrevocable action in the book. Like, that's our goal, is irrevocable action, right? Not stalling, not letting something sit in a place where it's just like you're like a control off ramp, where you're like, I need to read this one more time. It's not good enough. I'm not sure. I'll do it tomorrow, right? But like, irrevocable actions, like send. It's good enough. And this book, so this was published on April 1st. And in March, I was getting to feel like, oh my God, I've been working on this for months, and if I'm like, it's gonna kill me. Like, I can't read it another time. What am I gonna do? And I went to Amazon KDP, the book's on Amazon, and you can do a pre-release, but if you miss your pre-release, you can't release for a year. So I signed up for a pre-release. The book was not done. The book was not even close to done when I signed up for a pre-release, because I was like, well, God dang it. In a month from now, this book is going to be done. And sure enough, there's a couple of pages in this where there's typos and things that I repeated myself, and it's really embarrassing. But I would rather be embarrassed and have a book than not be embarrassed because my book is still living in my head. So, that's the lesson there.
I love that. That's a great story. How can people get a hold of you?
So my website is NeuroDiscipline.com. If you want to book an appointment, it's neurodiscipline.co/calendar. You can buy the book. There's free resources and a free test you can take in here. My email address is in here. Again, the name of the book is Split Second, Stop Stalling and Start Doing. It's on Amazon. There it is. My Instagram is NeuroDiscipline. My TikTok is NeuroDiscipline. I'm on LinkedIn, Adam Tilove. So find me any which way. Send me a text. I'm busy, but I'm not so big that I don't respond to my messages.
Awesome. And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes for everybody too. Is there anything we haven't covered that you want to talk about?
I'll just say this, which is that I'm going back to the name of your show, which is Through the Fire, and I think it's a profound name, because there's times in life when we're burning, when we feel like life is super dark, when things get really hard, and those moments they can be really hard to get through. And I would just say, keep showing up. We all have our own valley of despair, and informed optimism is right on the other side. So, speaking frankly, I'm in a good place now with my business. I feel like I'm thriving. There's a lot of clients and a lot of action and a lot of podcasts and a lot of the book is going place. There's just a lot going on. And 6 months ago, I didn't know what my way out was. I felt like I was dying. I felt like this is never going to work. And I don't even know why I wake up in the morning. And so life can change in an instant. Really, things can get better in an instant. And I just would encourage the people that are listening and in a dark place to keep moving, man. Keep moving. Keep walking. The valley of despair is not a place to stop and build a tent.
Yeah, that's so true too. All right, final question. What is one piece of advice you'd like to leave our listeners with about overcoming adversity?
Here it is. You ready? Again, a long answer. Do you know, Ryan, that when you shuffle a deck of cards, the chances are infinitesimally small that ever in the history of the world, the cards have ever been in that order before? In fact, there are almost as many combinations of cards as there are atoms in the galaxy. There are more combinations in the galaxy, less than the universe, and more than the galaxy. The chance of there being the identical deck of cards is picking up a grain of sand and then being flown all around the world, and someone else picking up the same exact grain of sand. Far less. And why am I saying that? That's pretty cool, by the way, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cards. And it's true. Look it up. Here's the thing. Each one of us is more diverse than a deck of cards. The things that make up our story, the history that we have, our DNA, our families, the interactions we've had, each of us is a totally 100% unique person. And literally in the whole history of the world, there's been no one like you even close. So that unique story that you have and carry with you is important. It's important to somebody else. Somebody else needs to hear it. Somebody else needs to learn from you. Somebody else needs your wisdom. Someone else needs your companionship. Someone else needs your understanding. And there's no one else in the world that can do what you can do. And that's it. And just like to understand the power of your uniqueness and the role that you play in this world as being so important to somebody else, I think is what I would just like hold on to that and know how special you are.
Great advice. Adam, I can't thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your story with all of us.
Thank you, Ryan. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your thoughtful questions and your happy demeanor, attitude.
No problem. Well, guys, that's going to be all the time we have here today. Remember, the only way to get what you want is go through the fire.